I never believed in ghosts, not until I became one. My name is Ethan Jameson, and I died 3 days ago. At least that's what my watch tells me. Time feels different now. Everything does. It began with a storm, the kind that swallows ships whole and spits out only splinters. I was chief engineer aboard the research vessel Horizon, part of a small team studying deep-sea thermal events in the North Atlantic. 6 of us total: Captain Santos, our marine biologist Sato and Chen, and our oceanographer Malik, our navigation specialist Wright, and myself. The forecasts showed clear sailing, but forecasts lie. The storm appeared from nowhere, a wall of black clouds that engulfed us in minutes. The sea turned violent, waves the size of apartment buildings, lightning that split the sky like broken glass. "We're taking on water!" Wright shouted over the howling wind. I rushed to the engine room, but it was already flooding. Salt water and electronics don't mix. The Horizon was dying beneath my feet. "All hands abandon ship," Captain Santos' voice crackled over the intercom. The panic in her voice told me everything. After 15 years at sea, Santos never panicked. I barely made it to the deck when a monstrous wave crashed over us. The force tore me away from the railing, hurling me into the churning black water. The cold hit me like 1,000 knives. I remember fighting, thrashing, lungs burning as I sank deep into the darkness. Then calm, peaceful darkness, and light, blinding light. I awoke on a deck, not the Horizon, but a massive vessel with sleek lines and an elegant white superstructure. The ship was pristine, not a spot of rust or wear. The brass fixtures gleamed in the morning sun like they'd been polished minutes ago. I staggered to my feet, salt water dripping from my clothes, and checked my watch. Still working, somehow. 3:47 a.m. "Hello," I called out. My voice echoed across the empty deck. No response except the gentle hum of engines and the lap of water against the hull. I made my way to the bridge, expecting to find a crew, someone who had rescued me, but the bridge was empty. The instruments glowed with life, navigation systems, radar, communications, but no one was at the helm. A ghost ship? The thought sent ice down my spine. On the captain's console, I found a manifest. The ship's name was Oceanic Whisper, a luxury cruise liner. According to the manifest, it carried 712 passengers and 327 crew members. But I couldn't find a single person. "Hello," I shouted again, my voice bouncing off the pristine walls. "Is anyone here?" My voice echoed back to me, followed by laughter? Distant, faint laughter that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. I followed the sound down elegant corridors lined with artwork. The ship was immaculate, like it had just left the shipyard. No sign of use or wear. The marble floors gleamed, the chandeliers sparkled, fresh flowers sat in vases. The laughter led me to the grand ballroom. The doors were closed, but I could hear music now, a full orchestra playing a waltz that sounded vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place it. My hand trembled as I pushed open the door. The ballroom was empty. The music continued to play, though there were no musicians. Tables were set for dinner with fine china and crystal, but no diners occupied the chairs. Yet the laughter continued, spectral and eerie. "Show yourselves," I demanded, fear giving way to frustration. The music stopped. The laughter ceased. Complete silence fell. Then a single voice behind me, clear as day. You're not supposed to be here yet, Ethan. I spun around to face a man in a crisp white uniform with a captain's insignia. His face was handsome, almost ageless, with striking blue eyes that seemed to glow with an inner light. "Who are you?" I asked, backing away. "How do you know my name?" He smiled, but I couldn't quite interpret his meaning behind the smile and his bright, intense eyes. "I'm Captain Elias Montgomery, and I know everyone who comes aboard the Whisper." "Where is everyone? The passenger manifest says there should be over 1,000 people on this ship." His smile widened. "They're here. They're all here." As if on cue, people began to appear, fading into view like photographs developing. Men in tuxedos, women in evening gowns, crew members in crisp uniforms, all of them slightly translucent, with the same inner glow in their eyes as the captain. I backed away until I hit a table. "What is this? Who are you people?" "We're the same as you, Ethan," Captain Montgomery said softly. "Souls caught between worlds." "I'm not. I can't be." The realization hit me like another wave. I survived. I was rescued. One of the ghostly women approached me, her 1940s-style gown shimmering with an unnatural light. "No one survives the midnight storm, dear. Not really." Memories flashed through my mind, the water filling my lungs, the darkness closing in. I looked down at my hands. They seemed solid enough, but when I focused, I could see the faintest transparency. "The Oceanic Whisper sank in 1948, Montgomery explained. "A storm just like the one that took your ship. Everyone aboard perished. Since then, we've been sailing, existing between worlds, occasionally finding others like us." I felt sick. "I'm dead? This is what? Hell? Purgatory?" Montgomery laughed. "Nothing so theological. Think of it as an echo. The ship, our consciousness, our very selves, we're all echoes of what once was, reverberating across time. And sometimes, when the conditions are right, we can interact with the world of the living." "My crew," I said suddenly, "did they—" "Some may have survived," Montgomery said, his expression unreadable. "Others may join us soon." A thought occurred to me. "You said I'm not supposed to be here yet. What did you mean?" His eyes darkened. "We don't just drift aimlessly, Ethan. We have a purpose. We call to the living. We call vessels to the midnight storm." Cold horror washed over me as I understood. "You caused the storm? You sank our ship?" He didn't deny it. "The Whisper needs new souls, fresh energy. We fade otherwise, become less until nothing remains." I thought of my crewmates, my friends. Had they died because this ghost ship needed fuel? "That's monstrous," I whispered. "That's survival," he countered. "And now you're part of us. Soon you'll help call the next ship." "Never," I spat. His smile turned cruel. "You don't have a choice. Your old life is over. This is eternity, Ethan. Fighting it only makes it harder." The ghostly crowd began to close in around me, their glowing eyes hungry, reaching for me with transparent hands. I ran. I sprinted through the corridors of the Whisper, looking for any way off this nightmare vessel, but every exit led back inside. Every window showed only endless ocean. I tried to jump overboard once, but some invisible force prevented me from crossing the railing. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time worked differently here. Eventually, I found myself in the engine room. A massive space filled with machinery that looked decades out of date but in perfect working order. My engineering instincts kicked in and I began examining the systems, looking for something, anything that might explain what was happening. That's when I heard a familiar voice. "Ethan, is that you?" I turned to find Malik, our oceanographer, standing at the entrance of the engine room. His clothes were torn and wet, just like mine. "Malik?" I rushed toward him, relief flooding through me. "You're here. You're dead," he finished grimly. "Yeah, I figured that out when I walked through a wall earlier." Despite everything, I laughed. It was so absurdly Malik to be clinical about his own death. "We need to find the others," I said, "and we need to figure out how to get off this ship." Malik's expression darkened. "I've seen Santos. She's different. Her eyes glow like the others. She tried to convince me to accept my place here." My heart sank. "She's already turned?" "I think so, but Chen and Sato were with me when the ship went down. They might be here too." A new voice joined us. "They are, but they're hiding like you should be." We turned to see Wright, our navigation specialist, emerging from behind a massive boiler. He looked different, though. Gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes, but they didn't glow like the others. "Right, you're not like them." He shook his head. "Not yet. Been fighting it harder every day, though. This ship, it gets in your head." "What do you mean?" Malik asked. Wright tapped his temple. "Whispers, promises. It offers you peace if you just give in, become part of the collective, I guess." "How do we escape?" I demanded. Wright's laugh was hollow. "You don't. We're dead, remember? But what?" "I've been studying this ship. There's something wrong with it. Beyond the obvious ghost stuff, the technology is mixed. Some parts are from the 40s when it supposedly sank, but others are modern. Some are even beyond what we have now." I frowned. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying this ship isn't just from the past, it's from different times, different realities, maybe. And I think it moves between them." Hope flared in my chest. "So if we could control where it goes, we might find a way home," Wright finished. "Or at least somewhere better than this nautical purgatory." "You're talking about hijacking a ghost ship?" Malik said incredulously. I nodded, a plan forming. "Exactly. And if anyone can figure out how to pilot this thing, it's the three of us." The lights in the engine room suddenly flickered and a cold breeze swept through the space. "They know," Wright whispered. "They always know when someone's plotting against them." "Then we need to move fast," I said. "Where are Chen and Sato hiding?" Wright led us through a maze of maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the passenger decks. The tunnel felt older somehow, less pristine than the rest of the ship. Rust spotted the walls and water dripped from overhead pipes. "The ship has less control here," Wright explained. "These spaces weren't part of the original vessel. They're additions from other ships that the Whisper has consumed." The implications made me shudder. How many vessels had the ghost ship devoured over the decades? How many souls? We found Chen and Sato in what appeared to be a storage room filled with outdated equipment. They were huddled around a makeshift chart they'd created on the floor using what looked like chalk. "Ethan! Malik!" Chen leapt up when she saw us. "Thank God!" Sato was more reserved, watching us with suspicious eyes. "How do we know it's really them? Not those things pretending?" "It's us," I assured him. "We're trying to find a way off this nightmare cruise." Sato didn't seem convinced, but Chen filled us in on what they'd discovered. We've been mapping the ship, she explained, pointing to their chalk diagram. Or trying to. It changes. Corridors appear and disappear. Rooms move. But there's a pattern, Sato added reluctantly, engaging. The ship seems to reshape itself around energy sources. What kind of energy? I asked. Emotional energy, Chen said. Fear mostly, but also despair, anger, and hope. The ship feeds on it, Sato continued. It's strongest when people feel the most. A theory began forming in my head. That's why Montgomery and the others want us to join them. More souls, more energy. Wright nodded. And that's our way out. If we can drain the ship of energy or redirect it somehow, we might be able to break whatever holds us here, I finished. We spent what felt like days developing our plan. Time was impossible to track. My watch still read 3:47 a.m., frozen at the moment of my death. We worked in shifts, exploring the ship's systems, mapping its changes, and avoiding the ghostly crew and passengers who seemed increasingly agitated by our absence from their macabre social activities. Captain Santos found us once. Her eyes glowed with that unnatural light. You're making a mistake, she told us, her voice eerily calm. Fighting only prolongs your suffering. Join us. It's peaceful. Is it peaceful to lure ships to their doom? I challenged. To trap souls for your own survival? Something flickered across her face. A moment of the old Santos, perhaps. Doubt, regret, but it passed quickly. You'll understand me in time, she said before vanishing into the wall. Finally, we were ready. Our plan was dangerous, possibly suicidal, though that concept had lost much of its meaning since we were already dead. We would overload the ship's emotional energy grid by creating a massive surge of contradictory feelings. Fear in the ballroom, joy in the engine room, rage in the bridge, peace in the staterooms, all simultaneously. The conflicting energy would theoretically create a rift in whatever dimensional barrier kept us trapped on the Whisper. And then what? Malik asked during our final preparations. I hesitated. I don't know. Maybe we return to our bodies if they're still viable. Maybe we move on to whatever comes next. Or maybe we're destroyed completely, Sato said grimly. Still, that's better than an eternity as battery cells for this floating haunted house, Wright muttered. We put our plan into motion during what passed for night aboard the Whisper, when most of the ghostly passengers gathered in the ballroom for their endless, repeating gala. Chen planted emotional amplifiers, devices we'd cobbled together from various technological components throughout the ship, in key locations. Sato prepared the engine room for a controlled overload. Wright positioned himself on the bridge, ready to manipulate the navigation systems. Malik stood by in the staterooms with the final set of amplifiers. I headed for the ballroom, the most dangerous position, directly confronting Captain Montgomery and his ghostly court. Just before we separated, I gathered our small group of rebels. Whatever happens, remember, we were alive, we mattered, and we decide our fate. Not this ship, not Montgomery, not the storm that brought us here. Us. The others nodded, determination in their eyes. On my signal, I said, checking the crude communications we'd assembled. 3 minutes. I approached the ballroom alone, my heart pounding despite my technically dead status. The double doors swung open at my approach, revealing the now familiar spectacle. Ghostly figures dancing to music played by an invisible orchestra, drinking champagne that never emptied, laughing at jokes they'd been telling for over 70 years. Montgomery spotted me immediately. He broke away from the group of admirers and glided toward me, his captain's uniform immaculate as always. "Ethan," he said with a tight smile, "we've missed you at our gatherings. I trust you've finished your exploration of the ship?" "I have," I replied, forcing a smile of my own. "You were right. Fighting it only made it harder. I'm ready to join you now." Suspicion flickered in his glowing eyes, but vanity won out. He believed I had succumbed, as all eventually did. "Wonderful," he said, offering his arm. "Come, let me introduce you properly to everyone." I took his arm, feeling a cold emptiness where contact with another person should have been warm. As he led me through the crowd, I glanced at my watch, still frozen at 3:47 a.m., but in my mind I counted down. 2 minutes. Montgomery introduced me to passengers with names from another era: the Astors, the Vandermoors, socialites and business magnates who had perished on the original voyage. They welcomed me with the practical charm of people who had been playing the same roles for decades. "You'll find peace here," an elderly woman in diamonds assured me. "The first few years are the hardest, but then you hardly remember your old life at all." The thought horrified me. To forget who I was, who I had loved, what I had lived for? 1 minute. "Ethan will be taking on engineering responsibilities," Montgomery told a group of officer ghosts. "His expertise will be invaluable to the Whisper." "For your next hunt, you mean?" I said, unable to contain myself. The music screeched to a halt. The ghostly revelers froze, their glowing eyes turning to me. Montgomery's face darkened. "I thought you understood." "I understand perfectly," I said, backing away. "You're parasites. You destroy lives to extend your own half-existence." 30 seconds. "Restrain him," Montgomery commanded. The ghostly crew began to advance. I retreated toward the center of the ballroom, where I'd hidden the main emotional amplifier beneath a table. "You can't escape the Whisper," Montgomery said, his voice echoing unnaturally. "No one ever has." "We'll be the first," I replied, reaching the table. 10 seconds. "We?" Montgomery's eyes narrowed. 5 seconds. "Now!" I shouted into my communicator, flipping the switch on the amplifier. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The amplifier beneath the table pulsed with a wave of pure fear. Not just any fear, but the specific terror of drowning that all of us from the horizon had experienced. The ghostly passengers screamed, their forms flickering like a bad television reception. Simultaneously, throughout the ship, my crewmates activated their own amplifiers. Joy, rage, peace, sorrow, all flooding the Whisper's energy grid at once. The ship shuddered. Chandelier crystals tinkled. The floor beneath my feet seemed to ripple like water. "What have you done?" Montgomery roared, his form distorting, stretching, and then snapping back. "Freed us," I said. The ballroom walls began to crack, not like a physical material, but like reality itself was splintering. Through the cracks, I could see something else, not ocean, not even our world, just elsewhere. Montgomery lunged for me, his face contorted with rage. "You'll doom us all." I dodged, sliding beneath a table as the floor continued to undulate. The ghostly passengers were panicking now, their carefully maintained illusion of civilization collapsing into primal fear. My communicator crackled. "Ethan?" It was right. "It's working. The navigation system is showing I don't even know how to describe it. Multiple destinations, multiple realities? Choose one, I shouted back. Anyone but this. On it. Get to the bridge if you can. I scrambled toward the ballroom exit, but Montgomery materialized in front of me, his form unstable, but his rage was very real. "You'll pay for this," he hissed, reaching for my throat. His hands passed through me. Whatever power the whisper had given him was fading. "Your ship is dying, Montgomery," I said. "Find your peace if you can." I ran past him out into the corridor, which was now rippling like a flag in strong wind. The entire ship groaned and shuddered. Ghostly passengers and crew fled in all directions, their forms breaking apart and reforming. I fought my way to the bridge, meeting Malik and Chen along the way. Sato joined us as we reached the final staircase, looking exhausted but triumphant. "The engine room's in complete meltdown," he reported. "Whatever powered this thing, it's destabilizing." The bridge was chaos when we arrived. Wright stood at the navigation console, which was projecting what looked like a three-dimensional map of realities. Countless growing pathways stretching in all directions. "I don't know which one to choose," he shouted over the groaning of the ship. "There!" Chen pointed to a path that glowed more brightly than the others. "That one feels right." Without better options, Wright steered the ship's course toward that pathway. The whisper lurched violently, throwing us all to the floor. Reality seemed to fold around us. The ship creaked and twisted in ways no physical structure should be able to withstand. Through the bridge windows, I could see the ocean transforming, sometimes stormy, sometimes calm, sometimes not water at all, but strange, impossible landscapes. "Hold on to something," I screamed, gripping a bolted-down chair. The whisperer gave one final, terrible shudder, and then silence. Complete, perfect silence. I opened my eyes slowly. We were floating in what seemed like a sea of stars, though we were clearly still aboard the ship. The bridge was intact, but different, newer, cleaner, yet somehow more real than it had been before. "Where are we?" Malik whispered. Before anyone could answer, a new voice spoke, familiar but different. "You're home, or as close to it as you can get now." Captain Santos stood in the doorway, but not the ghostly Santos with glowing eyes. This was our Santos, human, real. "Captain?" I approached her cautiously. "Is it really you?" She smiled sadly. "More or less. I was like you, fighting the ship, looking for a way out. I found this place years ago. Well, time doesn't work normally here, but it feels like years." "What is this place?" Sato demanded. "A possibility," Santos explained. "Neither life nor afterlife. A pocket between realities where souls like ours can exist without being consumed by ships like the Whisper." "Are there others here?" Wright asked. Santos nodded. "Many from many vessels, many times. We've built something here, a community, a port for lost souls." She led us out onto the deck. What I saw took my breath away, if I still had breath. We were docked in what looked like a harbor made of light. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of ships were moored there. Vessels from every era, from ancient times to modern cruise ships. Between them, structures of impossible architecture rose like a city built from dreams. And there were people everywhere, not the half-real ghosts of the Whisper, but souls like us, caught between worlds but determined to make something of their existence. "Welcome to Liminal Harbor," Santos said. "It's not life, but it's not a bad afterlife either." As we disembarked from the Whisper, which seemed smaller, diminished without its ghostly energy, I felt something I hadn't experienced since the storm. Hope. Not for return. I knew now that that was impossible. We had died in the storm. Our bodies rested on the ocean floor alongside the horizon. But hope for whatever comes next. Montgomery was wrong. Death wasn't the end, and it wasn't even the beginning of the end. It was just another journey, one that I and my crew would face together. As we followed Santos into the impossible city of lost souls, I glanced back at the Whisper one last time. On its deck, barely visible, stood the ghostly form of Captain Montgomery, watching us with hollow eyes as his vessel, his prison, his kingdom, slowly dissolved into stardust. I didn't feel satisfaction or revenge, only pity and gratitude that we'd found a different path. My watch still read 3:47 a.m., It always would, but here, in this place between places, perhaps time no longer mattered. What mattered was that we were free, and somewhere in some distant ocean on some distant earth, a storm was brewing. A ship was sailing into the darkness, and now, instead of the Whisper calling them to doom, perhaps they would find their way here to Liminal Harbor, where lost souls find each other, where echoes become voices once more. Thanks for listening to my Dark Veil tale. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. It really does help me grow this channel so I can make more content for your enjoyment. Also, check out the linked video for another creeper-style story from Dark Veil Tales.